Here, announcers on Boog, Sciambi, Dave Sims, and we're joined by two of the best in the business.
Indeed.
Mike Krukow from the San Francisco Giants, and oh boy, we've all had a lot of time to hang out. Kruk, first, what have you been doing to pass the time?
Well, I'm in Reno, so we're at 5,000 feet, and the high Sierra this time of year is great. We'll get snow one day, then bright sun and warmth the next day. So that's been fun, entertaining when you're sitting here in the front room looking out a window.
Right.
I'm on double secret probation. My wife and my daughter, they won't let me go out. So I sit there and I'll play, music, guitars, mandolin, whatever. And I just keep looking at the clock of the whole day going, how close is happy hour?
Amen, brother.
Because happy hour is what all happens here. We Zoom happy hour with everybody, and then we howl. It's something that started in Marin, where people have cocktail hour and they howl. They kind of howl at the moon. That's it. So we started doing it up here, and sure enough, the first time we did it, we howled, and we heard somebody howl back immediately. So now it's kind of a thing, and that's the highlight of our day.
Kuiper, what about you? What's going on?
Well, I tried the howl thing in our backyard, and it turns out that all of our neighbors are in witness protection, and I got nothing. Nothing. They didn't even open up their doors or windows. So we're just bored to death, basically, is what we're doing.
Yeah, we started this so we could connect with everybody and have some laughs. We had Susan Waldman on, we had Riz on, we had Len Casper, and we had Goober the other day, Mark Guba's on. So touching base with all the fellas and gals and everything. What are you doing to keep yourself? Is there anything you're doing to keep yourself a little bit sane, Kuiper?
Yeah, I'm taking phone calls from Mike. It's like when he gets bored, he calls me. When I get bored, I call him.
Right.
And then we just sit and talk about absolutely nothing. It's actually like we're doing a game. Don't get any sense at all. Look, Mike said he was quarantined with his wife and daughter, and we're not able to hang around my son, who's married. But my daughter just had a baby in October, and her husband. And we're all, we get to see them, and we get to watch the baby grow and hug her. So that has really been a joy for us because it's a major distraction. And I think what we've all found out, we all do the same thing, that we know how to survive without baseball for 4 or 5 months in the off season. And we all know how to do that. But we don't know how to survive when the season starts and there's no baseball. It's almost impossible.
Bingo. Couldn't agree more. It's nuts. Boog and I are in New York, and right now after waking up and hey, I'm still here, and then you do what you're doing, and at 7 o'clock while we're eating dinner, New Yorkers are sticking their heads out the window, pots and pans, horns, honking horns, those in the street, celebrating the first responders and all the health workers. So that's one of the great joys of having dinner. Oh, I got to go scream out the window and not get sued for it. It's like, yeah.
Well, I think that's great. And I applaud you guys for doing that because, New York is getting hit worse than anybody.
Yeah.
So just be safe. Don't go out. My goodness.
Yeah, trying our best, no doubt. Hey, so you guys have been friends for a long time. Do you remember the first time you met, and did you like each other right away?
Well, I didn't like him playing against him. I mean, he was in the other league, and he was with the Indians. I was with the Cubs, but our paths crossed in spring training. And when you go down to Tucson to play the Indians, it was always early in spring, like my first or second start. So you're going to, 30, 40 pitches or whatever. And playing at Tucson was the hardest infield in the history of the game. It was harder than the parking lot. And I was out there, and the Indians had a bunch of style monsters. They had Rick Manning, and they had Dennis Eckersley, and they had Kite. And I thought they were a bunch of peacocks. I did. Plus, the game would start off, I'd be pitching against Rick Manning, and it would be a 9-pitch walk. And then Kuiper would come up, and it'd be a 10-pitch ground ball through the right side. And I'm throwing 19 pitches, and I got 2 guys on. So I wasn't a big fan. Plus, I played ball with a guy at Cal Poly, Dave Oliver, who was a third-round pick by the Indians, and he never could get to the big leagues because he was always behind Kuiper. So I kind of had half an attitude about Duane Kuiper before I ever met him. And I didn't really get to know him until I walked in the clubhouse in 1983 with the Giants. And in 15 minutes, I realized this guy's the guy. Plus, I used to love watching him take infield with the Indians when he'd come into Scottsdale. And infield was always a big deal. And Kuiper was amazing. He was amazing with the glove. And, I mean, we all stopped to watch him. He was that good. And but when I met him as a teammate with the Giants in 1983 in spring, that's when I knew that we were going to be buddies.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you look for when you meet a new guy is you find out what kind of sense of humor does he have. Is he fun to be around? Does he make you laugh? And Mike had all of that, and I found that out within 10 minutes after I met him. So it was the beginning of a great relationship. I mean, we didn't have any idea where it was going to end up, but we ended up in the right spot. And now, we've been doing this so long that most of our fans don't even realize that we played. And you know what? We're okay with that.
Yeah, boy, that's a heck of a point. It really is. It's been around that long. Hey, walk me through those 3 championship seasons you guys had and what it was like to be, on those broadcasts with those teams. You had some electric personalities, had some great performers. I mean, what was that like?
Smooth, go ahead.
All right. Well, Mike and I talk about this all the time where we're really lucky that when the season ends, and Mike and I do mostly TV, and John and Dave, they do mostly radio. So there's a split there, radio guys, TV guys. But we do cross over occasionally during the season. But when the postseason begins, all 4 of us are together. And we all get to broadcast, and we all get to be in the same booth. And that's really special because most teams, it's just the radio guys, and that's it. So we've been able to share these 3 world championships, the 4 of us, and we've got memories that'll last absolutely forever. But I'll just talk about the first one, Dave, and that's because the Giants had never, ever won a world championship in San Francisco. The first one is always going to be the most special one for me because they'd never done it before. And I remember I got asked afterward, what's one word to describe how you feel about that world championship? And the word was relieved, because they finally did it. And now we don't have to worry about going to our grave with our team never having a world championship. And we didn't have any idea they'd win 2 more, in 3 years after that. But that first one was really special.
What about you, Mike?
Well, like Kuiper said, we feel it's pretty unique as to how John Miller and Dave Fleming invite us into the broadcast booth to help them do radio. So now you've got a 4-man booth, right? Which means some of the guys, I'm working with 3 play-by-play guys that someday might all be in the Hall of Fame. They're just incredible partners. And, I kind of think I'm the luckiest guy in the world sitting amongst these guys. And it's the thing that we look forward to the most collectively as a group of 4. And it's the thing that we are most proud of as broadcasters. Broadcasting, it really started in the 2002 World Series. It was the first time we had ever gotten to the World Series together. And even though the Giants lost, it was we had just a real strong sense of satisfaction having told the story of that World Series, which is an incredible story. And the same thing for 2010 when the Giants had done it for the first time. There were so many calls that we knew that were going to be remembered by Giants fans for eternity, that were significant calls. And the way that we did all of those playoffs, we were really proud of. And then the same thing happened in 2012 and 2014. Every one of those championships were incredible books. And we got to be the guys that got to read the story of those books to our listeners. And it is what we're most proud of.
Connection. I want to ask you guys about that. We documented your connection together, but you're obviously connected to the fans, but even other broadcasters. I mean, I was doing pre and post on a national basis, and you guys would let me sneak into the back of that booth. I think when I think of the 3 times you guys won, I think about just laughing with all of you in the back of the booth the entire time. Where does like the energy come from? Because I feel like when people see you guys, everybody wants to plug into you. Really. I mean, and it's such a compliment, but they want to plug into the positivity, the laughing, the energy, the baseball, all of it. You have to feel that, not just from fans, but other broadcasters. I certainly will speak for a lot of the broadcasters about that. I mean it.
Well, I mean, first of all, our fans think that we're together all the time. They do.
Right.
I've told this story before, but it was probably 15 years ago. I was on a cruise, and we were in some island out in the Caribbean. And we got off the boat, and we're walking around, my wife and I. And a Giants fan came up to me and didn't even say hi. He said, "Where's Kruk?" Like, I have no idea where he is. So they think we're together all the time.
Right.
And we take that as a compliment because, we do talk to each other every day, whether we see each other or not. And we do know that there's a great connection. And it's really been a special relationship for us to know that about our fans. And you know what? It's something that we're going to carry with us until we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken to guys in the business, and the conversation went like this about you guys, that you 2 guys should go in as an entry into the Baseball Hall of Fame, the broadcast wing. I'm all for that. If I had a vote, you'd have it.
Thanks, Dave. You know what? It is that is the promised land, but it's something that I think all of us understand. It's just so hard to climb that mountain, and there's never been anybody that's walked that aisle that hasn't deserved it. That's what makes it special too. But I mean, it's just fun to think that people like what you do, whether you're going to be a Hall of Famer or not. It's so cool to hear our testimonies, and I know you guys experience the same thing because your fan base is exceptional. They walk up to you and they give testimonies to you as to what the game means to them, what the story that you're telling them means to them and their family, and really that's our reward. And I don't want to get too melancholy on this thing, but it really is true. We all, 4 of us, and most of the people in our business, they feel lucky to be there. For us as ex-players, we hit the jackpot as players. To think that we hit the jackpot twice is absurd. But we love every day we get there. We take it. We don't take it for granted. We take it like this, this may be the last one we're ever going to do. Yeah. And we look at it that way, and we approach it that way. And like Kuiper has always said, we know when we get up in the morning, we're going to go to work, and we're going to laugh our ass off about 10 times. And we do.
That is a fabulous attitude. I try to keep a piece of that myself. As my old man used to say, hey, you could be digging a ditch. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, come on. Even in the 100 lost seasons, I found some joy in there. I mean, Boog, you've been there, right?
Well, the thing I think about, both you guys have said it. You both have said, we've had the first best job in the world, and now we have the second best job in the world, right? I mean, the best job in the world is playing in the big leagues, and then you get to broadcast. I mean, it's pretty incredible, that fortune.
Yeah, broadcasting is the difference between broadcasting and playing is that broadcasting, you get to go to the big leagues without the pain. It's a good deal.
Right.
That's a good call. Go ahead, Kuiper.
Well, I mean, I go back to when Mike and I were teammates when he joined the team in 1983, and I wasn't playing a whole lot back then. And Mike's in the rotation, so 3 out of the 5 days he's a lot of fun to be around. The day before he pitched and the day he pitched, nobody wanted to be around him. But those 3 days, we spent a lot of time sitting in the dugout next to each other. And if we could find a dugout that was big enough, then we would go down to the very end, and then we would do a game. We'd play around and do a game, and it was always very colorful. You know,
I'm sure
we were allowed to say, and I go back and I laugh at some of the stuff we said, because if we didn't like certain guys on the other team, yeah, that was part of the broadcast. You know, boy, that guy sucks, doesn't he? You know, it was awesome. And then we have to look to see if Frank Robinson was catching on, because now all the players were gravitating towards us and away from the bat rack. And, you know, so anyway, that's how it kind of all got started with us. And little did we know that, you know, we'd be doing this 30 years later.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there's certain guys I've met along the way that they knew in their head they wanted to get into broadcasting, and others, like, you know, you couldn't drag them there with a team of mules. I mean, and you guys have gravitated to it and have done well. And I've been lucky enough to work in, the 3 major sports, and you guys are unique. I've told you this to your faces that, if you're on the one coast, we're on the other, and I get a chance to listen to you guys, I'll love it. It's great. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
You're very kind, but, I was lucky that my first year broadcasting, Joe Morgan was my partner, and he was a great guy to work with. And then when he started doing ESPN, then it started to look like Mike was going to get an opportunity, even though he didn't think he was going to ever do this. But when he started to do games when Joe was gone, you could tell that it wasn't going to be very long before he was going to get a great grasp of this. And better than a great grasp, he's been fantastic.
Well, you guys are synonymous with San Francisco, like the daggone cable cars, man. I'm telling you. Boog, what else you got in the last couple seconds here?
What are some of the things you think about for baseball this year? Just hoping. What's your take on what's been thrown out there? And I'm not asking you to play Dr. Fauci, obviously, but what's your thought?
Well, I think we are going to have baseball. I don't think we're going to be able to assemble as fans and go to a ballpark anytime soon. I think that's going to take a long time.
Yep.
But I do think we're going to have the game. And, when they first threw it out there that, they're going to have this league where all 30 teams come to Arizona, and they started talking about sequestering teams and doing this. We kind of thought, all right, a lot of things to work out. Well, now we hear that they're going to have half the team in Florida and half the team in Arizona. There's going to be teams of 16 guys. They're only going to play 9 inning games. They're thinking about this. They're working out the problems of this thing. So we think it's gathering steam, and we think it's going to happen. We don't know how soon. We're just staying optimistic and hoping that it does happen. But as far as bringing fans back into the stands, I think it's going to be a while.
I'll go at it at this angle, and I agree with Mike. I think something good is going to happen, and baseball is going to get started again. And when it does, I really believe in my heart it'll never be more popular than that very first game that's played, whether there's people in the stands or not.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, fellas, as always, a pleasure to be with you. Thanks for your time. We thoroughly enjoyed this, and hopefully we can do it again. And you guys be safe. And again, tip of the, I don't have my cap on like I usually do, but tip of the cap to you.
Can I just say one thing to Boog?
Yeah.
Boog, if you think that I don't care, you're right.
Okay.
All right, fellas.
Hey, don't forget to howl tonight at Zoom Happy Hour.
Oh, I'll keep that in mind. I may have to check in with you. All the best, guys.
Thanks,
For Boog Sciambi, I'm Dave Sims here on Announcers On.